They say it never rains in Southern California, but it's pouring in the Bay.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to The Secret Services. I'm going to be your host, Quintari Shakir. Please go to www.blackspectrumnetwork.com to purchase a private psychic reading. Also, please be aware that only half of this video is going to be available on YouTube. The other half will be available on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Black Spectrum Network. And for just $5, you can get access to this video and more about the Black and other videos specifically about the Black community. With that being said, when this video will be posted to the YouTube account might be a few months. So with that being said, we're going to get right into it. I've already shuffled my personality card, so I'm just going to start with the personality reading on Sandra Bland. With the cards that I get for Sandra Bland, the first card I get is the Mother. This is all to say that she was incredibly nurturing. She was unconditionally loved, and she was an unconditional lover. She also wanted to be a mother. I don't think that she had any children, but I do hear that she wanted to be a mother. She had plans to have children. I'm also hearing that she cared a lot for young children and that they liked her. That she was one of those people that children gravitated towards her. I wouldn't be surprised if she was a child of Yemaya or Yemaya. But with that being said, this is what the Mother card indicates. The next card is the Gambler card. So I don't know if Sandra Bland was a Sagittarius, but I do know that with the Gambler card, it speaks about her being someone that always trusted and followed her intuition. She took risks. She was a hard worker, and she was known for being a hard worker because, like Olivia Pope, she trusted her intuition rather than the facts that were always in front of her face, and that's what she was known for. I get the card for the Child Divine, which is speaking about her being someone that she had a childlike innocence, a childlike spirit. You know, in the Bible, it says that you should approach God with the heart of a child. Therefore, you're a better learner and a better student of the Spirit. With that being said, she was not someone that would readily, she tried to readily defend herself at all times. I get that she would allow, I know that she was a member of a sorority, so I wouldn't be surprised if her line sisters were more in your face or more confrontational than she was. Nevertheless, it was her innocence and her purity that gave her this connection to the divine consciousness, and that connection allowed for her to have this, as I spoke about before, allow for her to have this deep connection to children. I get the card for the Martyr, and this is saying that Sandra Bland was someone that defied all odds and defied the odds that were against her. I hear that there were a lot of family firsts for her. I hear that in her, particularly in her family, was that she was one of the first to. She was one of the first to achieve the level of success that she had as far as completing college, and then going on to, I hear that she had plans to then enroll into graduate school, or she was enrolled in graduate school, some sort of graduate program, but she was about to go, she was going to further her education, and it was all done to set a new standard in her family. And the final thing that I hear about her being the Martyr is that she was very spiritual. In terms of like her being Christian, and I feel that she was always going back and forth, not always going back and forth, but she was going back and forth with, acting like a Christian versus like being a Christian. So, the Christian as a character, but then there's Christian as a title. And I feel like she was struggling between the title and the character somewhat. The Exorcist card is saying that she had she did have some self-destructive tendencies. It's saying that she was hot-headed and hot-tempered, but this is all to say that I don't think that she was outward with it. Much rather, I think that she was someone that could hold grudges against you. And again, she did expect for other people to, help her out. Like she's very cooperative. I wouldn't call her codependent, but she's incredibly cooperative. So she doesn't handle she doesn't handle her problems alone. She doesn't face her challenges alone, and she's very inviting. She was always very inviting of support. So now I'm about to shuffle my cards, and I'm about to ask some very important questions surrounding her death. So the first thing that I'm about to do is I'm about to perform an oracle reading, and this oracle reading is going to tell me about the spiritual vibration around Sandra Bland. When she was arrested. So the first thing is I get the law of correspondence. And her challenge or obstacle is the Clemson. The law of correspondence is speaking about her having thoughts. It's speaking about her thoughts not corresponding to her actions. It's talking about what you draw to you is who you are. So it's saying that this particular encounter was divinely inspired. So I think this police encounter was supposed to wake her up. I think that she was aware of the racial injustice, like she was aware of the racial injustices in the United States, specifically the racial injustices that target Black women. But the challenge or obstacle for her was that I saw that she had issues with sleeping or interpreting her dreams, but there was also and there were problems that were plaguing her that were also showing up in her dreams as well. I'm getting that Sandra Bland, around from just what these cards are telling me, is that she was struggling through some very personal issues regarding like finances and personal issues, I think involving like a relationship of some sort. Beneath her, I see a health condition that she was enduring that required the use of medicine or herbs. I'm also seeing that this condition was caused through backbreaking labor. So I'm hearing that this was something that was psychologically related. I get the card for recycle, which is talking about her repeatedly returning to negative people or negative situations. So I do feel very strongly that the aggressiveness of this encounter with this man was not the first time that she's been aggressed by a man before. I don't think that she was in the wrong in this particular encounter, and actually Spirit is saying that she was not in the wrong. But I am hearing that this encounter is part of a larger pattern where trouble had been following her. And I think that she was always supposed to be, remain more humble in situations like this, be more quiet, don't talk back sort of thing. But I don't think it, like I said, in this situation, she wasn't wrong, but I feel like this was, the reason that she had this encounter is because these problems, she just never addressed problems with her decorum or how she interacted with people. I get the card for faith, so this is talking about she had a lack of faith in overcoming different obstacles in her life in regards to finances and things that needed to be paid. And then I get the Abatala card, which is speaking about her collecting intel or gaining knowledge. And also it's talking about her, wanting to pursue higher education. I said this before, actually. But with all that being said, just from these cards, this is what I see. It's just like in that moment, this is what's on her mind. She's like, God, please let everything work out. I got some bills that I need to pay, and I want to go to graduate school. And I feel like she was just trying to get her life together in that moment. Now I'm going to shuffle my oracle cards this time to see what was going on with the officer, Brian Encinia. Okay, so Brian Encinia, who was the officer who illegally pulled over Sandra Bland, and that is empirical fact. It has been proven in court that it was an illegal stop. So with the spiritual court card and the karma card being over each other, the spiritual court and the karma card are saying that there was a feeling of revenge that was driving him over the cliff, like his ancestors felt in some way they needed to protect him. He felt threatened by her in some way, and it's also speaking about his ancestors wanting some sort of devotion to him. Okay, so what I'm saying, okay, y'all got to get off this tip where you think that your ancestors are all good people. I've said this before, that some of y'all have weak ancestors. They are weak. The reason that you're broke is because your ancestors are weak. And so you have to understand that your ancestors were real people, and they weren't good-hearted. And if they weren't good-hearted people, they just weren't good-hearted people. So yes, sometimes your ancestors can support what you all feel is bullshit. But with that said, there's no difference between the prostitute, the principal, the priest, and the politician, because in some way that they're all corrupt. From some vantage point. So with that being said, he felt like he was completing the mission of his ancestors. The karma card is saying that he had a feeling of revenge that was driving him over a cliff, where I feel like he was aggressed by a black woman in the past, and he was like, this isn't going to happen again. I'm going to get her. The card for lust is speaking about an intense desire or a yearning to possess something that's not designated for you and completely out of your price range, which is talking about this illegal stop. So it's saying that the feeling that was driving him over the cliff was a lust for power, not a sexual lust for this woman. I get the Oya card, which is talking about the cemetery gates being open and wreaking havoc on someone's life. So this is speaking about his ancestors coming through to create chaos in her life. I get and using him to do it. I get the card for remembering, which is the retrieval of a memory or an experience from the past and bringing it to the present. This is speaking about a time where he felt there was some injustice that he experienced and he had to correct it. I get the card for Dambala, which is talking about great energy to do good or ill. It's also speaking about a morally bankrupt person that is creating chaos at home or at work. So with that being said, all of these cards are saying to me that in this particular traffic stop, he's felt disrespected. His ancestors or his ego were saying to him, hey, you got to get that bitch and you got to get her out that car and you got to make her respect you. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now we're about to get into so those are some of the spiritual elements of what was going on in that particular encounter. The first question that I have is what was going on? Was the information used by the Waller County Jail was the information released by the Waller County Jail used to discredit the intuitive knowing that the black community had of her death? So again, I'm gonna ask the question again so you get a clear understanding. And if you don't understand it, put it in the comments. I didn't understand the question. And then, because we're all one big family, go into the comments and tell them what this means. Was the information released by the Waller County Jail used to discredit the intuitive knowing of the Black community about her death? Okay, these cards are not supposed to be reversed. It doesn't matter if they're in reverse or not. I don't read that way. But the card for virtue, the card for failure, the card for truth is saying absolutely. The card for virtue is saying that they released this information out of haste. They released this information with a lot of passion and a lot on their mind. The card for failure is talking about the impact that this information had. It didn't have when they released this information, they were hoping to discredit that knowing. They were hoping to throw off the knowing. They're like, you all are suspicious of what happened and you have a right to be suspicious, but we're releasing this information to sway your opinions in a different way. I get the card for truth, and they were hoping that this information would not just discredit what you all intuitively know about her death, but they were hoping that this information would help you all to find a common ground. Like, hopefully we can find some common ground. Y'all feel suspicious about this. We're going to investigate it too, but we're going to meet somewhere in the middle. And that was the purpose of them releasing the videos and only portions of the video and in spoon feeding parts of the case, because this ended up becoming, they investigated her death. They investigated the jail, so they spoon fed us parts of this in an attempt to discredit our knowing, because I am Black, and they were also doing this to hopefully try to find a common ground between all of us. That they were trying to say there's a misunderstanding here. It's not what it seems, and wait for more information to be released. And we're actually not guilty, but we are very much concerned. My next question is, why was she hanging from her cell? The cards are speaking about, and my cards is, and I think some of my cards are upside down. My cards are speaking about the reason that she was hanging from her cell. There's the cards are saying that I feel like there was an attempt. I feel like there was an attempt to sexually violate Sandra Bland before her death, and I feel that I feel like there was some there was a check-in that happened, and I feel like there was an attempt to sexually violate her, because I get the card for valor. And I speak about this card being not one just about passion, but also sexual pleasure, and going and trying to go forward on that. I get the card for the Star and the card for prudence. The arithmetic of all three of these cards are saying that these things are saying that I feel like there was an attempt to violate her. And I feel like the reason that she's hanging from her cell is so that she wouldn't tell that truth. That there was an attempt to sexually violate her. The Star card is speaking about, the Star and the Prudence card is saying something about wisdom, and her trying to, it's like her trying to reach, it's like her trying to bring the truth forward to the public. So I feel like she may have said that she was going to come public with some information, or there were some things that she had noticed in the jail that she wasn't going to say out loud over the phone, but she was just ready to she had something that she was obviously ready to say. But I feel like it was in relation to her potentially being violated or like being touched or groped in a certain way. I don't feel like it happened the day of her death, but I do feel that she had been violated there was an attempt to violate her at some point in time in the jail. Now, I know the question was why she was hanging from her cell. I feel that she was hanging up from her cell to cover up a lot of the information. It's like it's better for her to die than for her to stay alive and tell what she saw and what she had experienced. My next question is what happened during those 2 hours before she was found in her cell? So I'm gonna need
long time, but I still got love for you, and that won't ever change. San Jose. They say it never rains in Southern California, but it's pouring in the Bay. San Jose, girl, I know we tried to tell ourselves those lies.